Good afternoon and welcome to the JDC West 2021 Operations Management Case Presentation sponsored by the Certified Management Consultants. Thank you to our judges today. We have with us Andrew Fletcher Cook with the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority, Jerome Nish of Builders Furniture Ltd, Jamie Hall with Safe Work Manitoba, Dan Blanchette with Selco Controls Limited, and finally Lisa Elliott of Oceans Tides Performance Group. Competitors, you will have a maximum of 20 minutes to present. Immediately following the presentation, judges will have a total of 5 minutes to ask the presenters questions. I will be our academic moderator, who will be the timekeeper, as well as controlling the overall flow of the presentation today. Time intervals will be noted in the Zoom chat by myself, beginning at the 10-minute mark. Following the presentation, I will facilitate the Q&A period. Judges will indicate their intent to ask a question by using the raise hand function. Just a reminder, no questions or comments will be permitted from the audience at any time. The audience is also prohibited from communicating to the presenters in any forum, including via Zoom or any other mediums during the presentation or questions. If you are an observer, please note that your camera has to be off and your microphone muted. Once the question period has completed, the Zoom meeting will end. Competitors, you can begin sharing their screen and begin your presentation.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to say hi to Annie and Bruce, Rob, and Lisa. Thank you for joining us. My name's Raylan, and I'm joined by Kenton and Jeffrey, and we are Grogu Consulting. So Habitat for Humanity Restore is such a unique initiative, and we are so excited to help you guys today make a decision on whether or not you should move your space. We're here to give you some operational insight that will surely prove to gain great results. So let's dive in. So you are seeking assistance to decide which location is going to be the best for your operations. We've got the retail space and the industrial space. Some challenges that you are facing are to do with your customer base, volunteer base, and your distribution and operations. So we came to the recommendation to close the Northwark location and move to the industrial space located in Woodbridge. Through our findings, this would result in over $1 million seen in net earnings 1 year from the project's implementation. Now, Kenton is going to walk you through our analysis.
Great. So as identified in previous meetings, we have the unique opportunity to move our New York store to the East Woodbridge area. And you posed us with two questions, whether a traditional retail store would be most appropriate or an industrial location. Now, the objective looking long-term is which one of these stores can have a lasting impact on your business, as well as the 11 other locations that we have across the Greater Toronto area. And we've broken down the 3 key factors that we would like you to take away from this meeting, and we will be repeatedly bringing up into our analysis and ultimately creation of our recommendation. These being your customers, the volunteers, and the distribution and operational needs required to make this decision on a retail versus industrial new store. So for Habitat for Humanity, your mission and vision is what drives the company forward and makes your organization really pull in and identify with a large customer base as well as volunteers. And this is instrumental for your success in the Toronto area, which has seen 12 stores over the last, since your founding in 1988, and growing with that population that really needs your services. Low-income individuals and families are growing exponentially within the Toronto area. And your products and services are uniquely targeted more than anyone else in the market to service these individuals. For this reasons, we're extremely confident in the foundation of your organization moving forward. And ultimately, as you said, you're always looking to improve. We believe you're in a great place currently to make these next big steps in your business. So we've broken those three main key factors that we talked about in the problem statement: the customers, the volunteer, and the distribution. So for customers, it's broken into two categories, being people that donate, as well as people that purchase. So you have a great inventory turnover ratio currently, where a lot of products are coming into the store and moved out relatively quickly. But we believe that there's still opportunity for this due to the discrepancy and the inconvenience of the products that are sold in each store. That being that the products donated to a current store are then sold there. So there's a lack of transparency and the lack of ability to move those products to other stores. And so stores get a little bit niche, and ultimately the customer experience there can be a little bit tainted in the fact that they can go there and not receive the product that they're looking for, or it might be exponentially higher than at another store. When we're looking at the purchasing and people that come into your stores and purchase things, I guess, we've noticed that they are extremely price sensitive due to their nature of being low income, and they will travel to get the best deal. And that's why you're so valuable to them. When we're breaking down the analysis of your York store, we find that it is actually underperforming relative to the remaining 11 stores in the market. And so this is a great opportunity to look at moving that location. And finally, you have a really loyal customer base, and this is so crucial to moving forward. All right, so the key takeaways from customers, things that we want you to remember, is that they're price sensitive, that the York store is ripe for innovation, and that the inventory distribution could lead to higher satisfaction levels with some operational critiquing. Now, volunteers are the life and blood of your organization, and you've done a phenomenal job cultivating that environment that really stretches throughout your community. You have over 6,000 annual volunteers, and 98% of them say that they are excited to volunteer with you again next year. This is leading us to being confident that the volunteer base will be able to grow with your business moving forward. The final aspect with volunteers that we just want to touch on is the amount of control and ability that they have to make decisions on the floor. And while this has made your business successful in the past, there has been some discrepancies, and such being that products might be priced at different prices depending on the location. And this has led to some customer dissatisfaction. Addressing this moving forward can increase your sales overall and improve your volunteer experience. And finally, distribution and operations. While other consultancy agencies may be coming in and telling you about the 4 Ps, how to improve your product, your place, or maybe your promotion, the P that is most valuable and important to Habitat for Humanity right now is actually a D, and that is distribution. How are these products getting to the places where your customers are? Making sure that the products in each store are diverse, fair priced, and ready to go will be exceptionally important moving forward. So your store locations have done a great job as they're strategically placed throughout the Greater Toronto area, but their inventory lacks or changes between stores. This is because transportation and the ability to move over inventory stocked stores to a potential another one are too overloaded, as you currently only have 6 trucks that are bogged down at the moment. The final aspect that you were excited to bring to us was repairs. And this is the growing complaints that have arisen from customers that say that their products are broken or potentially defective. And so with operations, having a set facility to monitor and exclude items that would potentially be coming in that would be defective, and preparing those items to make sure that they're ready to go for your customers will be important moving forward. So the key takeaways from this is to improve the inter-store or cross-store distribution, increase the inventory turnover to allow your customers to have a better shopping experience and not need to go to multiple stores. And this will ultimately benefit them as they're very price sensitive and they won't be forced to purchase items at a higher rate or go to a competitor. All right, we'll be now looking at the alternatives for our recommendations moving forward. So as we've talked about, we want to move the location to potentially an industrial center, a similar retail center, or renew the lease in our current position. And some pros of moving to an industrial location would be the ease of drop-off and repairs. This would be a phenomenal space to bring in items from your 6 transport trucks and make sure that they can be distributed evenly across your stores. This store, unlike another retail store, will have an exponential benefit across the 11 rest of their stores, being able to increase their operational excellence, not only this current ones. Some advantages of a retail location, though, would just be you're reaching into a new target market that you'd be able to sell to, as the current York lease store is located relatively close to other habitats. All right. So as we break down our different 3 recommendations of industrial, retail, and renew the lease, we wanted to compare them against the 3 core drivers, being our customer, our volunteer, and our distribution. And with this, we've come to the final recommendation that an industrial store is the ideal solution moving forward for Habitat for Humanity. And I will pass it off to Raylyn to walk you through the implementation and the recommendation of how this industrial plant will benefit the customers, volunteer, and distribution.
Thank you, Kenton. So as you can see on this slide, some key takeaways from our analysis of the alternatives shows that moving to the Woodbridge location, that is the industrial spot, it has the most pros. It also scored the highest on our decision matrix when weighing it against the 3 main factors. And the retail space, it scored the lowest at 21 out of 60 on the decision matrix, and renewing the current lease was at a moderate score at 38 out of 60. So as Kenton said, with that, our recommendation for you today is to move to the industrial location. So moving forward, we propose that you close the North York location and move to the industrial one. Following that, we believe that this recommendation is going to support and address the 3 key issues that we have brought up. So in terms of customer, this is going to provide a larger donation and drop-off location. The residents would have a location to purchase different types of goods and even mass goods from other manufacturers around the Greater Toronto area. And the facilities are going to be able to perform more item repairs, which was a huge pain point for your customers. In terms of volunteers, I know that losing volunteers is a huge pain point for you and this move if it were to happen. So by creating a retainment plan and a guide through the current knowledge of your current volunteers, you would be able to implement training to assure quality assurance. Now, finally, with the issue of distribution operations, you can streamline efficient distribution to all of your stores in the Greater Toronto area. And this facility is going to accommodate even larger operations than you've been able to manage before. And you will be able to provide effective pricing based on each repair quality of the different items that will go to other locations, therefore improving overall customer satisfaction. Now, Jeff is going to take you through how you can implement this strategy.
Perfect. Thank you, Ray. So to implement this strategy, you're going to have to do it in 3 phases, and that's in prepare, capture, and distribute. So with the first phase, it's preparing the closure of your York location and prepping up for the new location in Woodbridge. The outcome of this first phase will have successful closure with cleared out inventory in your York location. Second is capture. You want to be able to capture your volunteers' collective knowledge with their repairs and their current processes with what they're doing in order to get the outcome of getting that volunteer retainment and that process for repairment for future endeavors and future training. Next, with that third phase of distribution, you want to make sure that you ready that new Woodbridge location for repairs and distribution so it's equally distributed throughout all your restore locations and have efficient operations at Woodbridge location with an effective distribution network. So let's get into that first phase. So with preparing for your closure, as well as a new location, it will estimate you to take about 6 months from where it begins now in January of 2021 up until June of 2021. First, to start with donations and the inventory. You are going to accept donations until March so that you have at least that April to clear out that inventory that you currently have. Right now, you're doing about a 55% inventory turnover rate within that first month. We believe that you can clear out 55% of the inventory that you continue to take from that York location, and then diverge the rest of those remaining inventory to your other 11 locations across the Greater Toronto area. Next, it's focusing on those repairs and locations, and also attaining that new license truck for the fees, costs, and everything else in regards to that. Moving to the New York location, you want to forego that new lease renewal, divert the customers to the nearby locations, review employee staffing, and have that truck distribute inventory goods across the remaining locations. With contracting that new lease, you want to make sure you do every step in that process, from the insurance and everything else handling, to make sure that you are prepared. Next, it's buying that new repair equipment and serving the location, not only for that potential consumer base, but the potential for other manufacturers in that area, as it's an industrial area, for potential donation buyers, much like what you're doing with the doors in one of your specific locations. And with that outcome, you will have a successful closure with cleared out inventory. Moving on to phase two, in order to capture that volunteer knowledge, that knowledge retainment is essential. So first, Lisa will oversee the handling of the volunteers and how you can retain and capture that knowledge. You will need the volunteers to record their insights and tips for that repair, as well as hire a contractor to collect that data, compile it into a training repair manual so that it may be processed and forwarded out to your new volunteers. Next, moving on into staffing. So with the next portion in staffing, you want to transition willing volunteers to staff and retain the majority of your York staff. Right now, it is essential that you do have a working staff at that new location. And because of the facilities that will happen in that Woodbridge location, we believe that you can retain a majority of your staff, or even transition some of your current volunteers into staff that are willing to work at this new location, as well as complete the training and the guide for that staffing. Next, moving into training, you will need to train that new trucker that you will have on top of your fleet, as well as training of that new Woodbridge staff. How they will initially be trained in that 2-month period where the York location is closed and the beginnings of the new location of the Woodbridge location would be across your other 11 locations, getting them prepared in order for that launch in July. And its next is setting up volunteer training sessions to improve those quality of repairs. And with that outcome, you will have volunteer retainment and a process for that repairment for the future of your stores across your distribution channel. Next, moving on to the third phase of the distribution and operations, we estimate it will take about 6 months. Moving for your repairs, we believe that the donation and the repair location in this Woodbridge facility will improve the quality of your repairs across the network so that you can distribute it against your other 12 locations. Next, this location will solely handle the large and bulk donations from manufacturers, companies, and etc. to make sure that it is across the board of all your operations at a fair price. Next, volunteer training will be solely done in that repair hub. With the operations standpoint, you want to set a standard quality for your resale products. And again, that will be focused in that new location, which will almost act as your distribution center. Next, you want to make sure that the fixed pricing guide for the donated goods are across the board in all of your stores. And with this location, it won't be acting as a normal retail store, as traditional retail stores. It would act as almost like a warehouse style with their sales. And you will also have experienced staff in training. With that distribution, you will have a large distribution network with option to deliver the goods to your consumer, given that the fleet is now extended with that extra truck. Next, you will take a max amount of product and equally distribute it, again, against their other locations. And the last one we wanted to touch up on was, right now, your customers, when they take their bought products, sometimes there is mishandling where it is damaged. So we want to make sure that the packaging of donations is safe. And with that outcome, you will have a transition with distributed goods. and Kenton will walk us through the finances.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I want to quickly go through the financials of this plan and what it'll look like for your business moving forward. So we believe that we can increase the inventory turnover rate to 85% in the first month of donations. This is because the products that would potentially not sell because overstocking in certain locations will be able to be distributed through other stores, and they will be a higher quality. And we project that this will lead to a net earnings of $1 million within your first year of operations. And so balancing those out against our key drivers of our customers, our volunteer, and our distribution, you can see that each one of these will have a significant financial impact moving forward. These being 20% of the inventory being turned over. Next, we'll go into the timeline.
Yep, so we would like to discuss the timeline further if in the Q&A period, if you have any questions, as well as with the KPIs. And next, Ray will go in and close our presentation.
So once again, thank you so much for joining us today. We were very excited to be of service and be of help. We believe that moving to the industrial location is going to prove to be much better operations for all of your locations in the Greater Toronto area. And we're really excited to discuss this opportunity with you in the question and answer period. So once again, thank you very much. And we will now take questions from you and the members of the board.
Competitors, the judges have asked that you stop sharing your slides at this point, just so they can see you as you answer your questions. Jamie, you can go ahead.
All right, well, thank you, team. That was excellent. Evident that you've done a lot of work, a lot of preparation, and good job. I wanted to explore a little bit, big plans here in terms of moving to the industrial location and looking for the long term. I wanted to explore a bit that shorter term, and what I could see is that you maybe during that time gap between April to July, that you've missed the opportunity to take in donations as well as sales during that period, and wonder if there's an opportunity did I interpret that right, first of all, and then secondly, is there an opportunity to benefit from either of those during that gap time?
Yeah, so thank you very much for that question. It's simply something that we took into because there was no retail storefront to take in donations at that North York location. We would divert those donations into the nearby locations that are within that 5-kilometer radius, as well as in that 2-month period, you want to focus on having that training session and having everything prepared in order to develop a proper running procedure come July for that new location.
Thank you.
Andrew, you can go ahead.
Thanks. Just a quick question of clarification on your decision matrix. Can you explain why the retail score for volunteer was so much lower than the industrial or the renew?
Definitely. I'm glad you brought that up. When we're moving to a new retail location, we found that 98% of volunteers are looking for convenience and said that is the #1 driver moving forward. So moving into a new retail location, you'd be starting or looking to develop a new retail base. Why it's different for the industrial is that you'd be bringing over some staffing as well. And you would see that in our budget where we've allocated about $250,000 to this place. Ideally, since the purpose of the industrial location is focused on repairs and distribution, we do believe that we can bring over individuals or volunteers that are excited and enthusiastic about that opportunity to that new store.
Okay, thanks.
Lisa, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I wonder if you have a recommendation for a system for how we will track the movement of inventory from the new distribution center out to the locations.
So that's a great thing that you just brought up, tracking the inventory from the new distribution center to the other locations in the area. Now we believe that a tracking system that could be put in place would be a cloud-based system. So one that where each inventory item in the distribution center could be tagged with either a sticker barcode that could be scanned by something as easy as a phone or a tablet, and that would go into the system. And that is a way that we think would be a viable option to track all the inventory going to and from.
Dan, you're next.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. I'd just like to go back to your decision matrix and specifically want to get a better understanding on how you provide the weight for both the volunteer and your distribution and operations categories.
Just feel free to show your slides if necessary. My apologies.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
I will.
I'll see if
Try to get them up in time.
share here. Sorry.
Oh, nice.
So if we go to the decision matrix and the analysis, when we looked at the key factors, my apologies, let me just find that. So when we're looking at the key factors of the volunteer and distribution and operations, we found that the most stress and important piece for your current company operations right now, it was that important factor of how you're actually going to equally equate your pricing distribution, as well as how you would distribute your goods across all your networks. We found that because customers were going from location to location, because they might find a better deal in a different store, that is essential. And if you fix those issues within that distribution and operations, that will also have that customer satisfaction in the long term. In terms of the volunteer, we rated it as a 4 because the volunteers are almost your core structure of your business. Having over 6,000 volunteers in that area, retaining that info and that knowledge that they have is essential to the business, which is why we weighted it so high as well. And again, that was why we tried to make sure that we retain those volunteers and that information that they have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our question and answer period. We have no further time. Competitors, thank you very much, as well as our judges and our observers. Competitors and observers, you can exit the Zoom room. Judges, you'll follow me to the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, judges. We appreciate all your time. Have a wonderful day.